The terrifying unveiling of the Blood Monarch.
The heavy oak door groaned on its ancient hinges as I stepped into the grand chamber, the scent of beeswax and time-worn stone permeating the air. Shadows danced along the walls, thrown by the flickering candles that held back the darkness with their feeble light. Pilatus lounged upon his throne, a silhouette carved from night itself, eyes gleaming like twin shards of blue ice. Their piercing gaze tracked my cautious approach, dissecting my every move.
"Ah, sage,"
he purred, the sound echoing off the high vaulted ceiling.
"You've arrived."
I swallowed hard, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me like the stones above. At the sound of the double doors to the throne room closing behind me, I turned around to see that Victor was gone, and even more unusual, the entire chamber was empty except for the two of us. I guess he had dispensed with the formalities in our privacy. Fine, sage, it would be, but perhaps he will get more than he bargained for. Perhaps he will get the wraith. The chill in the room wasn't just from the draft. It crept into my bones, a harbinger of something bloody and dangerous that awaited. I take it you do not fear that I will try to end your existence. It was a statement, not a question. I walked to the front of the dais to look up at the monster before me. If the moment to die had arrived, I would confront it with courage. His eyes flashed red before he smirked and shook his head slowly. Then he rose from the throne and walked down the dais to stand before me, to tower over me. I knew he was ancient, reputed to be the first of his kind. He was the strongest to declare himself emperor over the entire world. Still, if he had ever been human, he must have been a giant amongst his people. Hell, he was still a giant amongst modern man. Your Majesty required an audience? It was a snarky question, bold in its asking, though my voice betrayed me quivering slightly as I looked up into his cold, cold eyes.
"Indeed,"
he replied, steepling his fingers with calculated grace. His lips curled into a smile that never reached those glacial eyes.
"It's time you heard the tale of our beginning, the true genesis of our empire."
The candles sputtered as if protesting the story they were about to illuminate. I felt an icy knot tightening in my stomach, the cold spreading throughout my entrails as I sensed the gravity of what was to come.
"Walk with me, sage,"
he said, and motioned with his hand toward at the back of the throne room. The change in his address put me on my guard, and though I was tempted, I would be a fool to challenge him over it. He was incredibly lethal and volatile, the most dangerous Fanger I had ever come across. "So, I am glad to see that the floor in front of your throne suffered so little from the excess of blood when you ripped off the guard's arm the other day," I remarked coolly. God, what was I thinking? The realization hit me like lightning, frying my already frayed nerves, sending them into a spiral of disorientation. My mind, worn down by the endless days and nights of captivity, was losing its grasp on reality, allowing me to say things that could only be certifiable. But in this twisted court, where a monster sat on a throne and a human was reduced to a pet, it seemed almost natural to tease the dangerous being before me. As his cold eyes bore into mine, I couldn't help but wonder if I had finally lost my mind.
"Are you still upset about that, sage?"
The psychopath replied.
"Don't worry, you tender-hearted creature. It will grow back."
He reassured me, his voice gentle and soothing. He gripped my hand suddenly, his fingers tied around mine, his touch surprisingly warm. It was as if I was a lost child in need of guidance, his grip leading me through uncertain territory.
This way, Sage.
I must admit, this familiarity from this monster fucking pissed me off. I am far from stupid, but sometimes I do stupid things. But not right now. I clenched my jaw, the sharp taste of blood mingling with the metallic tang in my mouth as I pressed my teeth into the soft flesh of my cheek, desperate to silence the stream of foolish words that threatened to escape. I followed him into an antechamber and then through double doors that led into what was obviously his personal rooms. He motioned to a table laden with meats and fruits. I shook my head. He released me and walked over to the table and picked up a copper pitcher.
Wine,
he asked. I am not thirsty, I answered quietly. It was a lie. I was parched, but I would desiccate and blow away before I would drink with this monster.
I see.
He stated quietly.
Victor tells me you have stopped eating or drinking.
He poured himself a goblet of what looked to be wine.
Are you trying to harm yourself, Sage? You know I will not allow that to happen.
I will eat when I am hungry and drink when I thirst, I told him coldly. His eyes narrowed at me in irritation.
Fine. Then you can watch me while I eat.
He motioned to an oversized sofa.
Sit.
Does he think I'm a dog? I threw him a glare before gently lowering myself into a sitting position. Oh, it was heaven. It had been so long since I had sat on something remotely comfortable. I began to sigh in pleasure, and then realized that he was watching me intently. I glared at him, and he gave me an evil grin, as if he knew exactly what I was feeling. He picked up a piece of white meat from a bronze platter with his fingers and hungrily bit into it. I was clueless about what it was. It could have been turkey or goose. I just hoped it wasn't long pork. I swallowed and then said, I am surprised that you eat anything at all.
Living beings must consume to survive. It is a fallacy for you to think that we are dead, Sage.
He told me before slowly licking grease from his fingers. You're not? I quipped.
Well, you've killed us. For something to be killed, I declare it must first be alive.
Ice dripped from his words as he remembered my crimes. I stayed quiet. This monster was too crafty by half. What is it you wanted to tell me, Pilatus? I finally asked. He motioned with his hand, and a servant that I had not noticed stepped from the shadows of the room, startling me. I watched him as he walked out the double doors, closing them behind, shutting me in with this monster, alone.
I would begin with telling you my birth name,
he said, and I looked at him in surprise.
My birth name is Pontius Pilate.
My mouth dropped open, and I couldn't stop myself from bursting out. You lie. I remember my catechism. Pontius Pilate committed suicide after the crucifixion of Christ.
Such propaganda, such truths and lies you humans have,
he said, with a twist of his firm lips.
You see me before you. I am very much alive, and I am Pontius Pilate.
He came and sat in a chair across from the sofa as I continued to stare at him in disbelief.
long before the world knew of our kind.
Pilatus began, his voice smooth as silk and just as dangerous.
There were 3 of us: Ananos, a Jewish high priest; Herod Antipas, you may remember him as the beheader of John the Baptist; and of course, myself. We were all powerful mortals, but we were hungry for power beyond the grasp of death. We sought magic and supernatural power, and in our quest we found the opportunity in a man who was performing the most wondrous miracles throughout our land. The people called this man Jesus Christ.
A shiver ran through me, an instinctual repulsion at the blasphemy his words suggested. The shadows seemed to lean in closer and eager to hear the confession of their master.
We 3 plotted and strategized, stirring up the community against this upstart Christ who claimed to be the Messiah. He made it easy, actually. Christ was too tolerant, dining with sinners, whores, and tax collectors. He broke the Jewish Sabbath and referred to their God as Father, claiming to be his son.
His tone was mocking, as if even now, after over 2 millennia, he couldn't believe Christ's stupidity in such overt claims.
His crucifixion,
Pilatus continued, each word wrapped in dark amusement,
was not merely the ending of a prophet. It was an act of ambition, but not sin. You see, we tortured him to find out his source of magic, because we wanted it for ourselves. He never told us the source, and so we put him to death, exacting revenge for his silence and pleasing the populace. But little did we know that his crucifixion would be the birth of gods among men.
I struggled to breathe, the air thickening with each horrific truth unveiled.
You look pale, my dear. Are you sure you aren't thirsty?
He asked solicitously, offering me his own goblet, smelling the wine and blood mixture, and I swallowed hard, keeping bile from exploding from my mouth, and shook my head, leaning away from the outstretched goblet. So, for your part in the crucifixion, God cursed you? I managed to ask without puking all over the floor. A harsh, blood-scented laugh crashed from his mouth.
Cursed? Heavens no, my sage. Do I look cursed? I am the emperor of the world. I am the blood monarch.
His laughter died down gradually as I cringed away from his madness.
This
He motioned from his head to his feet.
was an intentional act.
I looked at him in confusion.
You say you remember your catechism. Do you remember the centurion who pierced Christ's side with a spear? Do you know why he did it?
He asked. I remembered about the spear in Jesus' side, but I couldn't find my voice while looking into his wide, icy eyes as he stared evilly at me. So I shook my head silently, unable to pull my eyes from his.
People in that time practiced crurifragium, or the breaking of one's legs below the knee, was done to speed up the process of death during crucifixion. But when the centurions approached Christ on the cross, they found he was already dead. But to make sure that he was truly dead, a centurion named Longinus pierced his side and was bathed in a shower of his entrails and blood.
He looked at my horrified expression with a cool glance of his own before continuing.
Longinus suffered from a diseased eye that, after being touched by the blood of Christ, was cured. You can imagine our excitement when he presented himself that night and told us of this miraculous happening. We had Christ's body exhumed from his cave-like tomb under the cover of night. We did not roll his tombstone back into place, but left Longinus to guard the opened tomb. In reality, he was tasked with spying on other radicals who might visit the tomb of their Messiah.
Pilatus stood and rounded the couch, pulling me against the back of the sofa, and I froze in fear as he leaned down to whisper roughly in my ear.
We brought Christ back to my palace, cut his body into pieces, ate his flesh, and drank his blood, and became what you see now.
My lungs failed to function, and my breathing stopped as I tried to absorb his words. The foundation of this empire, this ageless monstrosity, rested upon betrayal so profound and actions so horrific that they threatened to shatter my understanding of all I thought immutable. "It's a lie," I whispered. He rose from the dead and lived amongst his followers for 40 days, teaching and ministering to his disciples. And then God called him home. He ascended to heaven.
Yes, propaganda was alive and well in that time too. Much of it fostered by us, you should know. It is true, Jesus' followers did mourn him as a martyr, and created many stories about him. After all, man has known well before Machiavelli existed that anything, be it immoral or unethical, such as lies, violence, or even murder, can be justified if the goal is important enough.
Pilatus said, a hint of mockery lacing his tone.
To them, the end justified the lies. But we, Ananos, Herod, and myself, the three of us, we celebrated Christ truthfully, though only to a very few, as the key to our ascension.
He whispered against my skin. I stiffened once more as I felt him sniff my neck like a bloodhound takes to a tracking scent.
Still don't believe me, my sage? Where do you think your act of communion comes from? Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in him. John 6:56. Our mortal and corruptible natures are transformed by being joined to the source of life through the eating of the body and drinking the blood of Christ.
The horrors of history, twisted into a perverse origin story, clawed bloody grooves into my mind, and I struggled to find purchase against the revulsion that fought back. This was the legacy of the vampire empire, a sacrilege so deep it tainted every shadow in the room. Is this supposed to impress me? I choked out, my horror morphing into a cold blaze of anger. Your vile actions, justified as ambition?
Understanding is not a requirement,
He retorted, his relaxed demeanor unshaken by my disgust.
Acceptance, however, is inevitable.
Her hands balled into tight fists, the ominous ambience enveloping her like a shroud. Her nails dug into her palms as she attempted, in vain, to distance herself from the beast that lurked behind her.
Speak, Pilatus,
Sage urged, her voice quivering with a potent blend of shock and rage.
Where does virtue live in such a monstrous act? How do you rationalize devouring the holy?
Pilatus's answer was not immediate. He let her go and returned to his regale seat. The wavering candlelight throughout the room cast ominous shadows across his countenance as he sat with the fluidity of a predator.
Survival.
Pilatus murmured, the word rolling off his tongue like a lover's sigh, reverent but laced with something darker. His eyes, cold as the void between stars, settled on her with a predator's detachment.
For power, for dominion, for eternity. We embraced what had to be done, Brutality was not a choice or sin. It was evolution. It was sacrament.
His lips curled into a knowing smile, as if savoring a memory that spanned centuries.
You call us monsters.
He continued, voice low and measured, each word a blade slicing through the air.
But what are monsters, if not the victors of an ancient war? We didn't ask for permission. We didn't beg the gods for favor. We tore destiny and power from their cold, dead body. And what of your humans?
His gaze darkened, contempt seeping into his tone.
When confronted with a conquering force, they abandoned the will to survive. They traded blood and fire for chains and prayers. They don't fight anymore. They wait. They hope that mercy will come. As if mercy was ever anything but weakness. Predators don't mourn the prey.
Pilatus stood and paced slowly, his footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, each step a reminder of the weight of millennia.
We claimed eternity not with words, but with teeth and iron. We didn't hesitate when the world trembled before us. We didn't weep for the lives we consumed. We feasted on eternity, while your ancestors cowered in the shadows, praying to gods who had long since been eaten.
He turned, his smile now a cruel echo of triumph.
Supremacy is not inherited, it is seized. We ate the shepherd, who would lead the weak, and in his place we became the wolves who feast upon the flock. We rewrote existence, carved it into flesh and stone, while humans.
His sneer deepened, eyes narrowing to slits.
Grew fat on complacency, too fearful to defend themselves. We carved our empire in blood while your kind forgot how to sharpen a blade.
His voice dropped to a chilling whisper, yet it filled the space as if spoken by 1,000 tongues.
And now, your humans dare to dream of rebellion? You speak of freedom while kneeling before the gallows? We built this empire with blood and terror, sage. Your words may echo through the darkness, but they cannot unmake what was born in sacrifice and sealed with eternity.
A moment of silence hung in the air, thick with the weight of his words. His expression softened, a mask of amusement laced with warning as he sat once more.
The strong do not fear the whispers of the weak, and we are destiny.
The tension between them was like two trucks speeding toward each other, a collision between his brutal pragmatism and the moral storm raging within her. She stood, her 5'9" frame tall and straight, her backbone like the steel of her family name. The ancient stone beneath her feet seemed to absorb the heat of their conflict, while the air thickened and chilled, extinguishing any residual warmth within the sacred walls.
Destiny.
Sage's voice was steady, but her eyes burned with defiant rage, meeting his gaze without flinching. A slow, almost mocking smile curved her lips, a dangerous glint of titanium behind her emerald irises.
Is that what you tell yourself? When the silence grows too loud? When the echoes of the lives you've stolen scream louder than the prayers of those who fear you?
She took a deliberate step closer, the distance between them closing like the tightening of a noose.
You speak of eternity, Pilatus.
She said softly, her voice laced with venomous certainty.
But eternity is not unchanging. It's a cage, a hollow echo where the screams of the damned never fade.
Her expression hardened. Her words, now a blade aimed straight at the core of his arrogance.
You call it destiny, but I see damnation, not just for you.
Her eyes narrowed, the fire in her tone rising.
For every soul you've bound to your empire, your children, your followers, they will burn with you.
Her lips curled, voice dropping to a whisper, but the promise in her words was louder than thunder.
You may have rewritten history with blood and lies, but I will write the end. And when that final chapter is read, your name will not be carved in glory. It will be etched in ash. History won't remember you as anything more than another brutal, bloody tyrant Pilatus, but it will remember who brought you to your knees.
Pilatus flashed a smile at her defiance, an amusement that reminded her of a predator playing with its prey. For an instant, it shined through the predatory essence of his being, a chilling testament to the darkness, more evil now that she understood it was a corrupted light sitting before her.
Those are human worries, Sage.
He dismissed with a casual flick of his hand.
Mortal worries. We surpassed such petty concerns long ago. We are immortal.
But not eternal.
She snapped. He shrugged as if he didn't care. Her opinion didn't matter. Her heart hammered in her chest. Each throb mirrored the weightiness of this revelation and underscored the philosophical divide that stretched vast between them. Sage found herself breathless, but choked out another question.
And what price did you pay for this transcendence?
This time, Pilatus's grin faltered ever so slightly, a crack in his otherwise impenetrable facade, before he replied coolly,
A price mere humans could never comprehend. But the treasure was worth any price. The treasure of immortality, an undying existence, to be that of an earthbound god.
This was the true visage of the vampire empire. Ambition unrestrained by morality and survival at the expense of the soul.
I don't believe you. I don't. You vampires are known for your lies. Look how you used my fiction to get here.
Sage told him in a breathless whisper, denying his words.
Besides, God wouldn't let the flesh of his son sow such corruption. And you would lie just to shock and hurt. You and your kind are a blight on the world.
A blight on the world? Consider the chaos of your human world before we took control.
Pilatus began again, his voice a lullaby of twisted logic.
The wars, the suffering, your species' continuous need to pollute the planet in the name of progress, your endless cycle of death and rebirth. We bring order to that chaos, a new age governed by beings of superior strength, wisdom, and longevity.
Sage's fists clenched at her sides, her nails digging bloody crescents into her palms. She could feel the weight of centuries in his words, the heavy drapery of justification cloaking his monstrous deeds.
Superior?
She questioned, her voice suppressing the storm brewing within her.
Or just more adept at hiding your savagery behind a veneer of civility as long as you are in control.
Isn't that what all rulers do, Sage?
Pilatus leaned back, an ancient regality about him as the candlelight danced across the contours of his face.
Dress their intentions in finery so the masses will kneel.
She wanted to scream, to unleash the horror and revulsion churning inside her, but she knew it would be as effective as hurling pebbles against a fortress.
According to you, you have built your monstrous empire on a foundation of betrayal, murder, cannibalism, and blood.
Sage said, with cold clarity.
You see it as necessary. I see it as tyranny and madness.
Perspective?
He whispered, almost fondly,
is the privilege of gods and monsters.
The atmosphere in the room tightened, constricting around Sage like a noose. The air itself seemed to thicken, heavy with the musty scent of old stone and the iron tang of blood long since spilled. Then Pilatus leaned forward, the shadows clinging to him as if they were loath to part from his presence. His voice, once commanding, now took on a conspiratorial tone.
But we've only scraped the surface of secrets, my dear,
he said, his eyes gleaming with the promise of untold depths of knowledge.
There are truths within truths, and lies within lies, layers that would shake the very pillars of heaven and earth if known.
Sage's breath hitched, her mind racing to fathom what darker revelations could lie beneath the already gruesome history of these creatures.
More?
She echoed, her voice a thin veil over the tremor of fear.
Much more,
Pilatus assured, his whisper like the brush of a tomb's chill.
And in time, you shall know them all.
With that final cryptic promise, the candles snuffed out, as if devoured by the darkness itself, plunging the grand chamber and Sage's heart into an abyss that threatened to swallow her whole. The silence that followed was pregnant with the unsaid, with the terror of knowledge yet to come. As the last glimmer of light died away from her sight, Sage stood frozen with the echo of Pilatus's words still floating around the room, feeling the stiff fingers of dread creep up her spine. The dance of truth and power was far from over. What more could there be? What deeper horror could possibly lay buried than that which was already revealed? This story is still unfolding, so subscribe and follow the pulse of the night. New chapters rise soon, and those who are bound to this channel will hear them the moment they awaken.